Hey y'all, it's Miss Lauren again, and I have another science lesson for y'all that talks about the impact of organisms and different ecosystems. So our introduction and our objectives for this lesson are: an ecosystem is a community of interacting organisms and their environment. Organisms only survive in their ecosystems when their specific needs are met. Newly introduced organisms, called invasive species, can throw off the balance of an ecosystem. A healthy ecosystem has many different kinds of organisms. So you're probably wondering, what is an organism? Well, an organism is a non-living thing made up of one or more cells and able to carry out all activities of life. All living things are made up of cells, which is the smallest unit that is said to be alive. An organism may consist of one single cell, unicellular, or many different numbers of cells, which is multicellular. Unicellular organisms, also called microorganisms, like multicellular, need food, water, and a way to dispose of waste, and an environment in which they can thrive, which is their ecosystem. Okay, so what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community of interacting organisms and their environment. Living things interact with each other and also with non-living things like soil, water, and air. Ecosystems can be as small as a puddle or as large as the ocean. So a common example of an ecosystem is just a small puddle in your backyard that you find after it's rained. So let's break it down a little bit more into what an organism is and how it impacts the environment and its ecosystems. An ecosystem, as we just said, is an environment with interacting organisms and their surroundings. So when you think of an ecosystem, you probably just think of animals, but in reality, an ecosystem has animals, plants, and non-living things. Animals need to hide inside of dead trees and rocks, and water is needed to drink, and some animals actually live in the water, like fish. Air is a non-living part of an ecosystem, and all living things, humans, animals, plants, everything needs air. Some ecosystems provide special services for the entire world. So for example, even though the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest only covers 6%, they produce about 40% of the oxygen in the atmosphere through photosynthesis. Other ecosystems produce food, medicine, and helpful materials like rubber and lumber. Organisms only survive in ecosystems where their specific needs are met. So like humans, all organisms have basic needs that they have to meet. You have to be able to eat, you have to be able to drink water, you have to be able to breathe air. Organisms in these ecosystems cannot survive without their basic needs. For example, if deer need to eat grass and the place that they live in is wet and mushy and grass doesn't grow there very well, which that would be their ecosystem, they can't find the food that they need and eventually they will starve. A healthy ecosystem has many different types of organisms. When you think of an ecosystem such as the rainforest, there are many organisms that are important. Trees, deer, plants, birds, and insects are prominent members of all ecosystems. There are many more organisms in the world that live in ecosystems but are just not noticeable. Bacteria and fungi are another type of organism that you can't see with the eye. You have to have a microscope to be able to view those. But all of these are equally important in playing roles in the ecosystem. Ecosystems depend on many different types of organisms in order to keep the balance. When that balance is disrupted, organisms cannot thrive and eventually will not be able to survive in the place that they normally could. Possible disruptions caused by humans include pollution, deforestation, land development, and removing water sources. Making wise choices to protect the ecosystems will help all organisms be able to live and thrive. However, it's important to remember that not all disruptions are caused by humans. Some occur naturally. So here's where we talk about newly introduced organisms can throw off a balanced ecosystem. These things are called invasive species, and invasive species can be plants or animals or humans even. An invasive species is something that is living there that has not previously lived there, so it's something that's not native to that area. An invasive species will upset the natural balance. So for example, wild pigs were introduced into the United States centuries ago, and they were the cause of billions of dollars of destruction in farmland. So since these wild pigs are not native, they have no natural predators, which means that their population is very difficult to control. So in nature, an ecosystem balanced with predator-prey relationship will keep the population stable. When invasive species are introduced into a population, 3 different things can happen. 1, the animals can adapt and then they will stay and thrive in that area. 2, the existing animals in that ecosystem will die. Or 3, the animals can move somewhere else to find a better location that suits them. Okay, so in the example of our puddle, all of the organisms needed to have a well-balanced ecosystem can exist on a very, very small scale. So next time it rains, you can go outside and look, and just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that it's not there, because you could have microscopic organisms swimming around in that small puddle, but you can't see it. So now it's time for our experiment. So today we're going to be making our very own ecosystem, and the great thing about this experiment is that after it's set up, it will take a few days to grow, so you'll just have to watch it, but it doesn't require any additional work after it's all set up. So what are we going to need? We're going to need a 2-liter bottle, scissors, potting soil, we're going to need some seeds, and I'm using cat grass, and I'm going to grow this for my cat to eat. I found these at Dollar Tree. You're going to need a fork, tape, some water to water your ecosystem, and then a pencil. Okay, so at the end of this experiment, y'all will be able to see how plants grow, and you'll be able to have your own ecosystem. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our 2-liter bottle and our scissors. So you need to be careful, so you might need to get your parents' help with this, but make sure that you have their permission first. What you're going to do is you're going to poke a hole into it, and you're going to cut it all the way around the edge, right where the bottle curves to meet the more straight part of your bottle. So after you've done that, you're going to set the top of it aside, and then you're going to take your potting soil, and you're going to place about, this might be a little bit messy, so not the dust. So you're going to place about 3 inches of potting soil into your 2-liter bottle. And then after that, you'll take your pencil and you'll poke some holes about 1 inch deep, just all throughout your potting soil that you just used, to make some holes. So then you'll take your grass seeds, or you can use bean seeds also if you would like. But you'll take your seeds and you'll just drop a few of them into the holes. And I made about 5 or 6 holes to drop my seeds into, but you can make however many you think you can fit. Okay? So then after that, you'll take your fork and you'll just kind of mix your dirt up so that you don't really put a lot of dirt on top of your seeds to squish them, but you mix it up so that there's dirt on top of all of the seeds. Next, you will take a little bit of water and you'll just put your water on the top of it. You don't want to soak it, but you will be able to see where the water level is because your thing is clear. So you want to make sure the water touches all the way to the bottom without drowning your seeds. So that looks like it's about good. So next we will take our top. So next you'll take your top that you cut off and you'll take off the lid. And then you'll place the top inside, upside down like that. And you'll take your tape and tape it together. And now you have your ecosystem. And you'll give it a few days, and if you think it might need a little bit of water, you just pour just a little bit more in there. But you don't want your dirt to be soaked. You want it to be just dry enough that the dirt still sticks together. So you don't need to do anything else except for maybe add water if you think you need it. But other than that, your ecosystem is done, and it will probably take about a week to 10 days before you start to see your grass grow. So I'm just gonna set my ecosystem outside on my front porch so that maybe I might even get a couple insects to look at, those type of organisms, and this way my ecosystem can get a lot of sunlight and it will be able to grow fast. Let me see pictures of it after you've done the experiment. Post them in the Google Class. If you have any questions or comments, please ask in the Google Classroom. I hope y'all enjoyed this experiment and had a lot of fun doing it.